on our time and for location. Time to do roll call.
Commissioner Dale,
Present.
Commissioner Day,
Present.
Commissioner Buckham,
Present.
Commissioner Bertram.
Present.
Commissioner Hayes is excused and Commissioner Kelly is excused. Commissioner Westheimer here.
Wonderful. Do we have any volunteers to read the land acknowledgement? Is anyone any of our new members not ready yet?
I'll do it. I haven't done it yet.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Commissioner Buckham.
Of course. All right. The Heritage Preservation Commission humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home.
Thank you. At this point, we'd go to public comment, but we have no members of the public, correct?
I don't believe so.
All right. Then we will move on to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of March 15th?
I have a couple of corrections.
All right. We have some corrections from Commissioner Westheimer.
Oh, sorry, I did. So,
Oh, yeah, I was just making sure Jordan knew.
thank you. On item 1, the yogurt shop, it says the color of the sign is too bright. No, it's what is being called the cornice. It's not, I would not consider it an accent. It's much larger than what I would consider an accent, and so I think it's too bright. But that's just to correct my comment there. And then also in E, consultations number 1, it's just something to clarify, something I said that starts with noted. She agrees that this is an important effort. Then I also asked, then I put in a comment and then say, can Mark do something about adjusting the schedules? If you want to end with a question mark. So it's just a little bit of clarification. And that's it.
All right. Do we have to do anything special to accept the changes and then move to approve them, or?
I think it'd be sufficient to say the approved
with the corrections?
with the corrections recommended by Commissioner Westheimer.
If that is what we wish to do.
If that is what you wish to do, and then Jordan, of course, has
Yes.
been writing down the changes and would correct the minutes before publishing.
All right. Great. Can I get a motion on the approval of the minutes
I'll make a motion to approve these minutes.
with the corrections?
Yes.
All right. We have a movement from Commissioner Buckham. Do I have a second?
I will second.
I second that motion.
Second from several commissioners. All those in favor?
You have to name one
Oh,
for Jordan, sorry.
Commissioner Day. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry. Any opposed? All right. Thank you. I always read about the delay.
Yeah.
All right. We will now move to our public hearing. Our first agenda item is the Marlar home at 12 Hillside Street. And I understand we have a commissioner who needs to recuse themselves for this item.
Be here for the discussion, but leave for the vote.
I think that,
Whatever you want.
I think you have to announce that you're recusing yourself from the item, and then I think Christina said you should leave the room, but you could listen from outside the
Oh, I
room.
thought you said I could stay for the discussion, but not for the vote.
I think last time David just left the room
For the vote or left for the
for
whole
all
thing.
of it.
Yeah.
Well, if there
I'd rather be safe than sorry.
are any questions that Carl can't answer specifically about the land trust model, please call me back. I'm happy to. But I would just want correct information.
So you have to say.
I am recusing myself from, it's 2 items, right? The Marlar
Was
house.
3.
Oh, okay, I'm leaving.
A, B, and C. 6, A, B, and C.
Okay, do I get to come back?
Yes,
Yes.
I will come get you and I'll come get you 30.
Thank you, Commissioner Westheimer. All right, so starting with just the cultural resource study for the Marlar home. Item 6A, do we have a presentation or any comments from,
I'll introduce it.
thank you.
Mark Grimes, Heritage Preservation Officer. This is technically a demolition because it's the loss of 12 Hillside Street being removed from the property at 12 Hillside, there is a mitigating aspect to it, is that it's going to be saved and reused in another historic district. Carl Everhart prepared a cultural resource study of phase 2, which means full documentation, which was not only by the written cultural resource study, as well as drawings that are representing the house as well. So that was all part of the photos, the cultural resource study, and the application that is available. Carl, did you have anything to add? The architect that's representing the owner?
Hi, Carl Everhart here. No, I think that Mark's summary is awesome. You know, the cultural resource study asks 4 questions. Is it significant? The answer is yes. It's a contributing structure in the North End District. The second one is, does it have integrity? And the answer again is yes. It has some alterations, but none of which are terminal. The next question is, can they be mitigated? And the answer is, in this case, because of the way that the National Historic Properties Act and the way your local ordinance works, not really, because it's considered a demolition, even though we're moving the building. So, you know, basically, it's kind of a strange situation where we're trying to do the right thing, but the way that the system works, it recognizes it as needing a phase 2 because it's a total demolition from the formal perspective. The only interesting thing about all of it is that in the historic preservation world, the discussion about moving houses has changed quite a bit in the last 10 years. It's much more favorable, and hopefully future guidelines will recognize this as the right way to treat properties as opposed to putting it in the landfill. So with that, I will be glad to answer any questions you might have about the cultural resource thing.
All right, do we have any questions? Commissioner Buckham?
I'm wondering, I just want a clarification. It's considered demolition, or it will be destroyed if it's not moved?
I will let the architect for 12 North Hillside deal with that at a later date. Right now, we do not plan to demolish it. Obviously, we're planning to move it over to Birch. So the proposal in front of you is to relocate the building with no demolition of everything from the first floor up. Obviously, foundations get replaced. Yeah. If it does not get moved, I do not know what they would do with it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I had a question. What? Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Day.
Oh, I was just wondering what necessitates the move.
That was
If
my
we
question.
could-
Yeah.
The owner of the property would like to build a different house there and wants this one gone.
So the insinuation is that he would be demolishing it. She would be demolishing if it didn't get moved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That would be my conclusion.
And I could add to that, that I did work with the property owner and I did discuss it, you know, what the feasibility was of rehabbing it. She chose to go this route. So I did try to keep it retained at the site, but that's not the way it's going.
Okay.
So the phase 2 cultural resource study does fully document the structure, as we've done in other properties that would allow demolition.
Okay.
And
Anything
the
else?
especially cool part is that while we're doing the phase 2 and we're documenting it, as Mark said, along with, you know, drawings and photographs and text and all that. But the cool part is it's actually going to continue to exist. So if somebody wanted to study it and get more information from it, it's still going to be around.
Did that answer your question, Commissioner Day?
It did. Thank you.
I'm just wondering if this is a question for the next agenda item. Is the hope that it will continue to be used as a house in its new location?
That's probably for the
Correct.
next.
Okay. Okay. And maybe this would be, But we have someone lined up who's going to move the
Yeah.
house and
They're-
funding and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
but they're really not connected.
Okay,
This next one is
Yeah.
really not connected.
This is really about the report and accepting the
Okay.
report as a complete, is the report
okay,
a complete documentation of the house at its current site? That's the first
okay.
item. That's item.
This is
A.
the first time we've had this like multi-part thing. so-
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing.
Okay, so this is just voting on the,
Acceptance of the resource study.
okay. So then I guess my question is, why do we have these alternative actions in here? This is not typically like the kind of thing that we see on these items. For there's specific reasons you put these in here, Mark? Because we could prove it, we could prove it with mitigation. It gives us like 4 options.
In the resource study? The resource study I'm looking at online right now has the photos, the resource study, and the application.
Yeah, so there's the recommended action,
Oh, yes.
and then there's these alternative actions, and we typically haven't seen those, so I was just wondering if there was a reason why Mark included those this time.
No,
Were
it's
there
just
concerns or
a,
anything?
no, it's just part of the format that we've moved towards. for
Oh, okay.
certificates, yeah.
You have control.
No, I know, it's just sometimes, we like your recommendations, and
Okay.
sometimes you suggest like things that you found lacking, would like us
No,
to.
my recommendation is
Also
to accept
recognize.
the
Okay,
cultural resource phase 2 study.
okay. Any other questions, comments? All right, are we ready for a vote or a motion?
Yeah, I would motion to approve the submitted cultural resource phase 2 study, meeting submission requirements of historic research and property recordation, called out in 1030-30 and specific to 1030-30-50.
Thank you, Commissioner Day. Do we have a second?
I would second that motion.
All right, and we have a second from Commissioner Bertram. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that one passes. So now we move on to part B. Moving the house.
This is the moving part.
The 615 West Birch relocated home placement. Do we have a presentation from Mark and Carl on this one as well?
I will introduce it. Mark Revis, Heritage Preservation Officer. Again, a little unusual that it is an existing house that's being moved, but technically it's new construction in the townside overlay. So if it was a brand new building that looked just like this, the review would be the same. So in fact, it is of the same era and period of significance of the townside district, this little bungalow, and architectural drawings are included, and it's being asked for a certificate of appropriateness meeting townsite design review guidelines. It's the existing house that we have photo recordation of and the drawings, and then there's a small, like 1/3 little addition on the back to accommodate the moved structure, new foundation, repairs, those type of things that go into the finished product. The only difference that exists from the photos is that at the 12 Hillside site, there is a railing. I believe, and when I looked at the photos, that I don't think the railing was original or the railing has been replaced. And there really is no need with how it's being placed now to have the railing between the porch posts, because it's going to be low enough to the ground. That's the only difference I see between the photos and the drawings. I don't know if Carl wanted to add anything to that, but I do find that it meets the design review standards, and I do recommend that it receive a certificate of appropriateness, meaning townsite design review guidelines. Carl, did you want anything to that?
Yeah, I think, thank you, Mark. I would add the other visual difference that Mark pointed out in his staff summary was that at Hillside, it has a malpai stone foundation on it. It's a veneer. And it looks like maybe on the original house, the malpai was part of the foundation, then maybe was added around the porch. But as we're relocating it, we're proposing it with just a simple concrete block foundation. And, you know, the thinking there is that we're not trying to hide the fact that it was moved. We're letting the foundations be 2030 era and letting the house be the original era. As Mark pointed out, the railing, in my opinion, is not original and we don't need it. So the best bet in my mind is to remove it. And then as Mark said, we're adding about 120 square feet onto the back of the 760 square foot house. We also spent a fair amount of time working on the site design. We worked with the neighbors on both sides to determine where the driveway should be, kind of where the house wants to be. So it's been a good project between the neighborhood. We opted to put in a ribbon driveway instead of a hard concrete driveway, again, trying to be in keeping with the town site neighborhood. You will see that we're removing one street tree. It's an interesting stretch of street because there's street trees like at about 10 or 15 feet on center. They're way more than would be considered normal. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter which side we put the driveway on, it's one tree or the other. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. You know, we want to move the house. We'll do some repairs, attach it down to the new foundations. And other than that, it's a pretty clean project.
And I'd just like to add that it's a open lot, used as a garden, so there is no demolition associated with placing this house.
Questions from commissioners?
Whoever gets that house is going to be one lucky person with the soil amendments that have been done over the years there.
I guess I just have I guess I'm just more curious. Do we know what the owner intends to do with the house once it's moved? I know we were just kind
I
of
do.
discussing it, but
Yeah, no, I'd be glad to speak to that. So the owner is the Townsite Community Land Trust, and they operate several properties under the model that this property would be operated. So the way that they operate is that the land is maintained in ownership by the land trust, and then the buildings are sold to homeowners, and it's an extremely affordable model. So it ends up being a residential use. It ends up being a homeowner and somebody who is not having to purchase the land, they're only purchasing the building. And they have successfully done this on several properties, I think 5 or 6 units in Townsite already. So it's historic preservation and affordable housing at the same time. So it's a fabulous model. It's one of Flagstaff's great successes.
all right, that answers my question. Thank you.
And they already own the current property.
Yes.
That's correct.
So one of my other questions is a lot of historic districts have like spacing between buildings as part of their model. Is this gonna create a more cramped space, or is it just?
It's actually going to fill in a knocked out tooth, I think.
Okay.
It'll pretty much complete that side of the street in a pretty appropriate way.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's really going to benefit the town site. And of course, Carl's very familiar with U.S. Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation and other projects that have been done there. Town site land trust has always followed those.
Great. Any other questions? I guess my last question is, it's already been brought forward to the other neighbors in the area, and if they had time to comment?
There was a posting
Okay,
made at the.
I figured there would have been, but, I mean, that's a big project, just a big house, so.
I'm pretty sure that
And
the
our-
posting photos were attached to the agenda. They should be the ones that say,
Photos hillside.
maybe I attached it to a different part of the
Yeah.
agenda. I'm just looking.
And on our side of the equation, we spoke to both immediately adjacent neighborhoods to talk about the house being moved in and have us sited on the property in the most friendly way. And this was the way that everybody agreed was the best way to do it.
So it's interesting to see how these things work, and how the community can get involved.
I didn't receive any comments.
Okay.
Any public
Okay.
comments, and my information is on the posted sign.
Yeah, I figured, I know you guys cross all your Ts and dot my Is.
Yeah, I think I did not get the notice on the on the attachment, but I can show you guys to make so you can feel confident
Okay.
it was noticed.
And
The right
timestamped and in
Yeah.
my records.
Let's see. I remember we put these in a Word document.
So the sign was posted visibly in that area, so the neighbors, they,
Yes, very specific rules, early posting.
okay.
We print the language and then you have to post it towards the front sidewalk on the alley.
Oh,
And then
okay.
a couple,
A couple other places. in
if
the
you
neighborhood.
want to make sure, but the two are the most critical.
Okay,
When it's an existing building, you just have to put it somewhere else.
okay.
Yeah.
It did say the meeting started at 4 PM, but when you notice something, as long as you start after 4 PM, you're
Okay.
fine.
Big giant letters saying notice.
Yeah, let me go find those. Do you want to pause for that to be able to look at it?
No, I trust you.
Okay.
I'm not concerned. We just haven't, I mean, this is just like the first time it's like a house that's gonna appear overnight, that.
Sorry, my computer had a blue screen of death today, so it's uncooperative with being too busy.
If y'all want to have some fun, you need to remember it has to cross the state highway. So it'll be an interesting drive as it gets over there.
Good. Do you know when you plan on?
Or is that gonna be for the next item? We have
Yeah,
one
it might
more of
be.
these.
It might be, I won't ask then.
I do not know the date. I know that everybody's ready to go. So it's probably just a matter of when the contractor's prepared and those kinds of things.
Okay.
What's the rate of success on these kinds of things? You know, I
Very,
just,
very high.
okay. I just,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, moving houses in general is a fairly common thing. That the house moving company involved here is a company out of Prescott that's moved many, many houses in Flagstaff and in the northern Arizona region. Flagstaff itself has a rich history of moving houses around. It's almost like a Tetris game sometimes. So it's a very, very high success rate move.
Fascinating.
That is very.
All right, any further questions or comments from commission members or presenters?
I think this is a really positive thing for our community to be able to save this existing house and move it into the historic area. So I think it's a good thing. So.
Yeah, and modeling it for other, people that maybe we can save some of these structures instead of just, there's other options. I like that. Highlighted, I guess.
And there
Better than Cinder Lake landfill.
potential effort to actually have it listed as part of the town site. district.
Oh.
It, we'll have to engage some level with SHPO to try to, prove the fact that we've moved houses in Flagstaff and that. But it's very much consistent with that era of majority of the houses in
Yeah.
the town site district. And the architectural style is the same. So that'll be an interesting effort. Gonna give it a try.
All right, do we have a motion then? We still commenting? Commissioner Nordhoff blinked and then disappeared.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm here. Yeah, I'll make the motion.
And I will second that motion.
But we need an actual motion.
I'm so sorry.
No skipping.
Sorry.
Mark always very conveniently gives us what to say in the agenda.
It's just under the recommended action on that.
If that's what you want to do, yeah.
Yeah,
Or-
if that, yeah, not to sway you, but
If you have the staff report open, it's recommended motion, yeah.
I'm sorry. I think, can you hear me? I think I didn't hear for like 20 seconds.
Oh, we just need someone to make like an actual motion to do something. So one of the ways to do that is to read the recommended action from the
Agenda.
preservation officer. Or, something else if you don't agree with that. Anybody want to?
yeah, I'm gonna do it. Okay, so I'm gonna motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the placement of the home currently located at 12 North Hillside to a land parcel located at 615 West Birch Avenue within the Town Site Design Review Overlay District.
Thank you, Commissioner Day. Do we have a second?
Second that.
A second from Commissioner Bertram. All those in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Bertram, did you say aye as well? Yeah. Okay. And any opposed? All right, the motion carries. So last motion on 615 West Birch Street for the facade grant request in the town site for the town site community land trust.
I will introduce that. There's application drawings, memo for myself. There's a cost associated with that. It, again, exceeds the requirement, so more than $20,000. So the recommendation is a $10,000 allocation for the small house to be placed on 615 West Birch Avenue for the historic rehabilitation of the actual house. And not included is the new foundation and the addition, so that we're consistent with how we've treated facade grants and improvements where people want to add on to a house. We've only done the rehabilitation aspects associated with that.
So per the funding breakdown in here, it has $5,000 of the grant allocated to the new foundations.
Yeah,
Is
and
that a mistake?
Carl, there's a updated estimate.
Oh, is that, okay.
And then there's also.
Okay, I heard that as like an estimate of the cost.
And Carl sent out another one as well, that it's obvious that the small house is going to need a lot of additional work on it, from roofing to painting to anchorage and trim,
Okay,
on how it connects to the new foundation.
Just for an example, just driving the house 6 blocks is 50,000.
yeah. For whatever reason, the updated estimate email is just giving me an advertisement for Adobe Acrobat.
Oh, do you want me to share the updated estimate? I don't mind
Yeah.
putting it on the screen.
Yeah, could you do that?
Yes. And Carl will confirm that I'm putting up the correct document. Correct.
No, I think that's still the older one.
Yeah, so there's updated estimate and there's updated estimate email
Okay.
in the agenda.
Let me bring one.
Mark would have gotten it today, I think.
Yeah, and then I got another one today, so.
Oh, that one was not attached to the
No.
agenda. Did you forward it to me?
Nope.
Then you're gonna have to go downstairs to share it. You're right, I get the same
If-
thing, email that was
If,
attached.
if,
Do you
if
wanna
you'd like,
share
I-
what you got? Will you share what you
Um,
emailed to Mark earlier today?
I can, it's a little bit more complicated because I'm on 2 different computers, but it's only about 16 line items. So if you'd like, I can just read them off. Would that be acceptable?
Do you want to see it in writing? Because Mark can go downstairs and forward it to me and I can share it.
I mean, it's up to all the commissioners, not just me.
You keep.
Does anyone have any objections to him reading it, or anyone else visual and want to see it?
That's okay. Yeah, I'm happy to just hear it.
Fine.
So the line items from the contractor, and the contractor is Good Oak Enterprises. And that's Kevin, who's done a lot of the TLC projects and TCLT projects. And he's a really great guy. So the first line item is house relocation at 47,000 and change. Excavating and grading at 11,000. Concrete and masonry at 23,900. Utilities at 14,500. Plumbing at 12,000. Electrical at 9,500. Rough carpentry at 38,000. Insulation at 9,750. HVAC at 6,000. Drywall at 8,000. Painting at 13,000. Roofing at 9,500. Windows and doors at 12,150. Cabinets and countertops at 7,500. Finished carpentry at 10,500. Flooring at 8,000. Tile at 5,500. Overhead and profit at 61,500, slightly less, for a grand total of 312.50.
That's the total project.
Okay,
But
That's the
our,
whole project.
our facade grant is specific to the small outside house
okay.
and not the addition. And I went through all that from the trim and the anchorage to the painting and the rehab and repairs and the roofing, and all of that exceeds $20,000 easily.
Yes,
So, and again, we're only allocating the 10,000.
okay.
And not to put too sharp a point on it, but just the driving it is 50 grand.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure because the actual application has the money allocated towards different things.
Yes. I
Okay,
tried to clarify.
okay.
So it is, okay, so there's an understanding that it's for facade type things.
Okay,
Is that-
I just don't know if we needed to work that into the motion.
That
If-
wouldn't have hurt to work that into the
Okay.
motion. They
Mm.
probably not do that.
We appreciate clarity on which items you'd like to see invoices for Mark to get reimbursement to the property owner. That,
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, it is in the recommended accident or action excluding the new foundation. An addition for reimbursement.
So my recommended motion does, it's a pretty long one,
Yes.
so but it does kind of clarify that.
Any other questions or comments? Any motions?
I want to try my hand at amending this recommended motion. Okay. So I am going to recommend to approve a grant allocation of $10,000 for 615 West Birch Avenue for rehabilitation work on the home moved from 12 South Hillside, being the original home, not the addition. And that it is with the condition that it is for, for facade work, and that the rehabilitation work meets the U.S. Secretary of the Interior standards, and it excludes the new foundation and addition from reimbursement. I guess you did say the addition, but I didn't see that yet. Sorry.
Does that work? Mark?
Yeah.
Okay,
Very good.
Yep.
thank you, Commissioner Day. Do we have a second?
I will second.
We have a second from Commissioner Bertram. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Thank you very much. I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Nice girl.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your thoughts and considerations today.
Thank you. I don't think I'm allowed to make motions. You guys all have different things.
I don't know. I think you can.
I feel like it has been done in the past.
No, it probably is. But it has. Yes.
Yeah. Commissioner Westover? We're waiting for a recused commissioner to return.
If the recused commissioner returns, am I able to depart?
We can check with Sarah.
Perfect. Thank you. I apologize.
Yes, thank you for coming.
No problem.
But I imagine, yes, we would still have.
I think that was the game plan, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll wait till she's.
Commissioner Day wants to be excused now that we have Commissioner West.
Thank you, Commissioner Day, for coming so we could hear those items.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be a part of that. So, okay. I will see you guys later.
Thank you, Commissioner Day.
She departed at 5:39 for the minutes.
And Commissioner Westover came back at the same time.
Commissioner Westover came back at the same time, just so as Jordan's recording motions, he knows who's here.
All right, so we will now move on to item D, which appears to be related to item E, correct? But same as before, two separate things. So this is our certificate of appropriateness for 314 North Mogollon. Do we have a presentation intro from Mark or the property owner?
Do we have, there's Ann is here.
Ann is here.
Okay, I'll introduce it.
Property
And
owner.
Karen, yeah, the property owners are here as well.
Yes. Hello.
There's our property owner. I will not pronounce his name.
Can you bring
I'll let you read it.
Last name Kramarczyk. My wife Karen and Jeff Kramarczyk. It's easier than it looks.
So a small little house at 314 North Mogollon that they have purchased and plan on doing significant rehabilitation, reversing a lot of the things that has taken place with the house. At taking off the cement siding material, replacing the non-historic front porch with more appropriate bungalow style. There's a unique aspect to this property where there's a half and half garage shared with the neighbor to the north. It's property line down the middle. There's a back garage storage shed that's actively failing with no foundation. That's proposed to be removed. And then the addition of a accessory dwelling unit that's subservient to the property. So it's the rehabilitation and reversal of non-appropriate historic aspects to the original home, the construction of an ADU with an attached garage, and those two demolitions. Ann Mead is the architect. I can turn it over to the owner and also to the architect. I've had several meetings with both of them. I'm very pleased with the design. I think it's a great addition to the town site overlay. 314 North Mogollon happens to not be in the National Historic Landmark District. Not landmark, the National Historic District. It's just outside, but it is part of the town site overlay and does have to meet design review requirements. That's it for me for the meantime.
Ann, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thanks for looking at our project. We're pretty excited about it. I think that is going to be a great contribution to the neighborhood. It is like up there on that north end, but you know, I think that the property itself has had some minor improvements over the years, but it could really use this big overhaul. So what we've done is basically like Mark said, our plan is to basically rip off that existing front porch that has kind of this colonial look to it. I think that in my application documents, I submitted some existing photos that you can reference there. And we're going to rip that off and then put on a new front porch that has better detailing, more consistent with the typical Craftsman bungalow. We're also reshaping the proportion of it so that it better responds to the actual proportion of the building. It is still somewhat the door on the front of the building is offset, but we've basically taken the porch and made it centered and symmetrical on the building. So I think that is really going to be a nice improvement and create more curb appeal from the street. We added some additional millwork, like we're going to put a low railing around that front porch to define the space better. And then overall, like just all the improvements throughout the rest of the structure, what we're going to do is we are going to, like Mark said, rip off the siding. We do have some lofty hopes that there's a possibility that we might find some of the original two-lap siding underneath that asbestos shingle. So in the event that that is the case and there's something that we can salvage there, we will look into that. But in the meantime, our plan is to have new two-lap siding milled at Guida Woodworks and then installed over the substrate there. We have worked on all of our trim detailing, trying to keep that consistent with proportions and techniques that would have been used on a Craftsman bungalow during that original era. We are going to preserve all of the exposed rafter tails and remediate and modify them as needed. We are going to put a new roof on it, and we are going to do a full window replacement. We looked at salvaging what is there, but many of the sashes are broken. And personally, as an architect, I'm always trying to, be respectful to the structure and the integrity of it. But I'm also a big advocate for energy efficiency. And at the end of the day, I think that this house just needs new windows. It'll be more efficient. It'll be tighter. So we have included that as well on our preservation grant application. So the two items on that grant application at this point are the replacement siding and the replacement windows. But otherwise, I guess one other big scope item is that we're removing a carport that was added to the bungalow. We don't know when or how that was done, but we are going to rip that off so that we can reinstate that little bit of yard space and clean up the roof line and just restore again that original shape and proportion of the home. Do you want to add anything in there, Jeff or Karen?
I think you covered it perfectly. I think it's great. Removing the carport also, one of the goals on that is to get visual access to the chimney that's there, the original chimney. Right now it's hidden by that carport, and we think it's a key feature of the property, and we want to make sure that it's visible. So, yeah.
So then just to touch on the ADU a little bit, we met with Mark, like you said, a few times to make sure that we could propose a design that was in line with the standards and all of the requirements. So we worked hard to keep it subservient. We tucked it at the back of the property. This property is kind of unique in that it has alley access from actually two sides, which is convenient. And so we have proposed a garage that faces the alley on the west, but also a surface parking spot that would be accessed from the alley on the south. did I say west? I meant east. So it lays out pretty well and maintains a nice big shared yard between the two spaces. And, you know, make sure to address not only the town site standards, but the City of Flagstaff ADU standards. So the main entrance faces east, the opposite way from the primary residence. So that makes it feel very subservient. And then we kept the roof line lower while matching the roof pitch of the existing house. And then we shared a lot of characteristics with the existing residents, such as single hung windows, you know, integrating some of that siding that we're going to put on the front house. But we are also, you know, not trying to create something that is not historic in a historic sense. So we have proposed some differences. On that unit, we are proposing a composite window instead of a wood window. And we will probably install fascia and soffit on the eaves. And then the other big difference that we made was that we flipped the color scheme. So on the primary house, we're going to have that kind of gray blue as the body, and then that kind of off-white as the trim, and then on the back that'll be reversed. So I think that you know, using the bold color on the front house emboldens it, and then the softer color on the back house lets it kind of float to the back. So otherwise, you know, I think that you know, they are consistent with each other. We tried to incorporate, again, some extra detailing on the porch of the back unit, but not as elaborately as we have done on the front unit. So, any questions?
And do you want us to share some of the renderings quickly, or if?
Sure. And I can too, if I can share my screen. I don't know that I can.
You should be able to share your screen. If you can't, I've got them up too.
Why don't you go ahead?
Yep, there it goes. So these are the renderings. Is that correct, Dan?
Yeah.
Front porch facing Mogollon. We're getting the trim back that's non-existent now around the windows. There's a quality wood window.
So is the current garage just like attached right at the back of the house?
The current
then?
garage is way toward the back.
Okay.
I can pull up the photos.
It's actually touching the alley, and
Okay. Is it where the ADU is going to go?
yeah,
Okay, hence why it needs to come in.
This is the ADU.
Yes.
for
I
this.
particularly like that treatment. The fact that it's kind of reminiscent of, you know, three buildings.
Okay, let me grab the other photos. What should I be sharing here?
Google Street View was not very helpful.
Yeah, you can't get that far back.
And the 512 giant garage is.
And there's a apartment building on that. Toward the east.
Okay, it's being slow to load, but I can get it fixed.
I do have access to the photos if you want me to share.
I think I've got them up. Hold on.
Okay.
These are the photos, correct?
Yes.
See if they'll go. Are they not up there yet?
There we go.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. So this is the current front structure, the back of that structure.
There's the chimney being hidden.
This is the split garage, correct, Mark?
Yeah.
And Jeff? Yeah,
Yep.
that's right.
You can see the pergola that Ann was referring to there. That's going to be removed.
You can see that back garage that's right on the alley. Maybe you can see the level of failure on the lack of foundation on it. So
Thanks.
I didn't feel that secondary structure was really.
Yeah, and then the rest are neighboring parcels, like this no parking one. These are.
So there's the context immediately that probably the reason that the historic district didn't extend that far.
Yeah, the no parking one is that additional structure that was placed there from somewhere else that will be removed.
Do we have any questions from commissioners?
Thanks for showing these and paying so much attention to the overlay. You don't end up with a. I'm curious
I don't
about,
think they can hear you. Can you talk just a little louder?
I can try, but I'm teaching voice.
Very loud.
I want to thank you for paying attention to the overlay and you created a really nice design. I have two questions, mostly about the front facade facing Mogollon. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
With the perspective in the rendering, I can't tell how far out, and it's hard for me to look at plans on a computer screen. How far out will that new porch come? There's interesting perspective in those renderings.
I mean, does it extend all the way out to the street?
No, it
I mean,
doesn't.
it's not gonna go that far, but
And do you have
further than it currently is.
do you have your site plan available?
I do, yes, and that porch is coming out 8 feet. The existing one comes out 6 feet. We are not on the setback with that existing one, so we've got a couple of feet to work with. I think there is a provision that a porch can encroach a setback. So even if we wanted to pull it out further, I think technically we could. But we were just trying to get that correct proportion
Yeah, okay.
in terms of depth ratio.
So you have two beautiful, I think there are two. I know there's one because I photographed it. Flowering tree in the front yard.
Yeah,
Two.
You're gonna keep them? 'Cause I have some great pictures of those trees. They're beautiful. So I hope you're not gonna remove them.
nope.
Nope. Not at all.
Would you like to see the drawing more closely?
I looked at it, it's just hard on a computer screen.
There are dimensions right here on the drawing.
There's also a site plan that's.
So that this, if I believe, this is the original, the current
And they're
portion
showing
that's
the
being
2 feet.
removed is 5 feet 6 inches by 10 feet wide. And then the new porch is 8 feet extending from the building
It's significantly bigger.
and 12 feet wide, I think.
There's really no indication of what the porch was, but the 2x4 construction of what's there now is obviously not historic, so.
Any other questions? Any motion?
Okay, I have one more question.
Okay.
I'm guessing you're gonna build the ADU on a slab. And was there any flooding there this year? Because, you know, water accumulates and you're near the Rio. So if it's a low spot, keep that in mind. When you build on a slab, you might want to go a little higher.
Yeah, you know, surprisingly, the times that I've been out there throughout the spring, it's not too soggy. You know, I think that it's just far enough off the Rio that, and it has pretty decent drainage already. It's super low slope, but there is enough slope that it, you know, it's not a duck pond.
Any other questions or comments? It's fine if you do. I like to.
Ask all the questions you want.
All right, do we have any motions? Do you wanna-
This certificate of appropriateness one, right?
Yeah, I keep clicking on the wrong agenda.
Oh, this one right here. Oh,
Unless you want to do an alternative action.
yeah, I motion to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the rehabilitation for primary existing homes rehabilitation and the construction of a detached accessory dwelling unit with the demolition of 2 garages at a property located at 314 North Mogollon Street.
Thank you, Commissioner Bertram. Do we have a second?
A second.
And we have a second from Commissioner Westheimer. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. So we'll move on to our second agenda item for 314, Mogollon, North Mogollon, for their facade grant. Mark, do you have anything you would like to?
Yeah, I'll just introduce it. And of course, during all the chaos, I didn't attach the memo. I have a copy of the memo that I took the time to do.
Thank you.
I don't know why I did not. But again, costs associated with siding, windows, window trim, restoration, all those things to improve that existing home and reverse aspects that weren't appropriate is part of the application. It costs far exceeding the $20,000 with us providing an allocation of $10,000 match for the project.
Guess I have a question about this.
Yeah.
Right time to ask.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to remove the asbestos siding?
Yes.
There are a lot of houses in the neighborhood with that siding, so if you can do it without destroying it, it'd be a great resource for other people who aren't removing it. It's not a dangerous siding at all. It's
Oh,
a
okay.
fabulous siding. The house won't burn down. It's a great siding, holds paint really well. So a lot of us are keeping it, but you
Okay.
can't get it anymore, or, if we have it and you can get it off without destroying it, it would be a great resource for people in town.
Interesting. Yeah, I was in another house over off of Santa Fe the other day, and I walked in the back, and the whole floor was made of Gallup brick, and I was like, "That is so cool! You've got a gold mine back here."
All right, any questions from commissioner members or comments from the property owners?
No, I appreciate the consideration and opportunity to present this. One thing we haven't had a chance to mention is use. We fully intend to use this as property owners. This is not intended to be a short-term rental or any of that kind of stuff. We want to make a life up in Flagstaff in long term, and we think this property is a perfect fit for us. So.
Any questions from commissioner? So this recommended motion is vaguer than ones that we've had before. So you want us to? Or is this fine, the way that it is?
It was just a matter of pulling all this together.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. I just wanted to, I guess there's a more specific one in the agenda. So I just wanted to, because they're different. All right, do we have any motions?
Using the issue.
Oh, no, that's okay. I just like clarification.
I'll take a stab at it.
All right.
Thank you.
I move to approve the facade grant request for 314 North Mogollon Street to put on more wooden siding, replacing the asbestos and the parking.
Windows
Oh, and the
Window
windows,
and trim.
replace the windows
and trim.
and trim.
I'm sorry, blacked out for a second. Did you say the amount?
I said 10,000.
Okay, just double checking.
No, it's good to double check.
All right, do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Westheimer and a second from Commissioner Buckham. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and that motion passes as well. Congratulations. I'm excited to see how it looks.
Thank you very much. We're excited.
All right, so that is the end of our public hearing items. So we will now move on to reports. Any approvals or consultations that are super exciting for you? It's only two.
Yes.
They're saying goodbye.
Oh, bye.
No, they were very exciting. The Chairman, peace surplus sign modification, hardly any change at all. It is in the downtown overlay. There's an older building hiding in that front facade somewhere, but again, it's not very obvious. So they actually are just changing their name from Peace Surplus to Peace Outfitters and and then their existing sign panel they're going to replace. And they have kind of a neater graphic that I did include a picture.
You did,
I
thank
did.
you. Yes, you did, thank you.
That's it, unless there's any questions on that.
No, I don't think so. Any questions from commissioners?
No.
Anything on the consultation?
Yeah, there is just work on 11 East Aspen, the old diner that's there. Repairs, there was just a question on whether or not there was any exterior work or not. So I actually confirmed that it's all interior work that's being done on 11 East Aspen Street.
What's in that building?
All sorts of stuff.
Which is that? Is that the
That's the whole building
Behind
from
McGaw's?
3.
behind Mountain Sports?
Um,
On the side of-
no, this is now yogurt shop and
Oh, that building. Okay.
P yogurt shop
Okay.
and former diner.
The taco
Or
shop.
gallery.
Yogurt shop. And then what's at the very end?
Steep.
Steep is on the west end.
It's
Oh,
the
the
whole downtown
taco shop.
diner.
Taco Bell. Okay, thank you.
And it looks like we have a lot of miscellaneous items. So Sarah.
Great. We're scheduling a thank you lunch for actually now 2 outgoing commissioners. Commissioner Horn was not reappointed and Commissioner Kelly is resigning
Aw.
tomorrow. So on April 28th, we will advertise a potential quorum. I hope everyone can make it for lunch to thank your colleagues for their service on the commission. We have 1 new commissioner appointed, Alicia Hayes. And she just was out of town and like out of country and unavailable this week. You don't get a lot of warning when you're appointed. You apply and then sometime the next year, the clerk tells you you've been appointed. So she could not adjust her travel plans on short notice. I did check in with the city clerk and she said that Commissioner Kelly's vacancy may be filled by the next, by our next meeting because we still have 6 applications that weren't acted on at the, when we did the reappointment, the new appointment of Commissioner Hayes. So we can hopefully welcome a second member at the next meeting, which means Mark and I will need to do new commissioner training and they will have to do the training from the clerk. So I hope everyone will help us in walking through and gently onboarding all our new commissioners. As you guys know, it takes a little bit to get your feet under you here. So oh, that's fine. We're not doing that. We're nice to each other. But our next meeting will be Wednesday, May 17th. I think I put it 3 p.m. in council chambers, but it'll be 4 p.m. I don't know why I put 3 p.m. in there, just.
So we'll need to arrange training then for me and Commissioner Day.
Yes.
Commissioner Day.
And I think that's probably why I put the 3 p.m. in. I think I sent both you and Commissioner Day a training on the technology in the room.
Okay.
For everybody who's not actually sitting at the chair seat, your tech is pretty easy. You have to hold the button down to talk. That's it.
Even I can do.
You get a mic, but if you like talk and pick up the button, then you know, it stops recording you. So you must be pressing the button while speaking. Press, then talk, finish talking, release. That's the whole training. You're welcome.
Why can't we just stay in this room or that room?
Well, they just, if we're gonna be streaming, this room's a little more complicated to do hybrid with because the mics don't work if we're on the streaming.
Okay.
And so this room isn't mic'd to do both simultaneously and the council chambers are.
And then the public can come and.
Yeah, and it's also
It feels
more
really
public welcoming. to do that. And we were all set up to do it, but then the need to move to accommodate planning and zoning's continuation. There was no one here from the public, so that made more sense. Mark and I are gonna have several general business items to bring you in May. One is going to be, just to preview them for you, one is going to be new applications for certificates, grants, and cultural resource studies, along with your final, what we hope will be the final version of the guidelines for you to go over. The point of the new applications is we've had a master application for a long time. Then what happens is 3 years
Fails
later,
miserably.
fails miserably. People put in information about the certificate and then forget to put information about the grant, even though they checked the box. So we have tailored them to each kind of decision. So you're not getting a mashup of information that's actually, we're trying to carry across 3 items, much like tonight. We'll just take each decision in little bites the way we need to. We can talk about them as a whole, but I think it'll help make applicants, our goal is to make applicants more successful in filling out the applications correctly the first time. Mark needs to be firmer on not accepting incomplete applications.
You use different wording than that. I should be a.
Yeah, Mark has to, because we can't have incomplete applications because it can make an issue later if like we've approved something and it's not clear that that's what they applied for. That can be a real legal issue later on for somebody who's trying to make a modification or deal with something. So we really, just in going over this with planning staff and with all of you, not only felt the guidelines needed an update, but the applications too. So we won't discuss that today, but that's my preview of that. We also have a couple other items, so I think we will have a good agenda for May. Anything else, Mark, on things we have coming?
No. It just popped in my mind that Commissioner Buckham wasn't aware of the land trust. But it was.
Oh, I'm happy to tell
Do a
everybody.
little education.
Apps
We do
anytime.
educational aspects.
Anytime.
Yeah.
I have brochures. I will talk to people.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds like you should bring it to the lunch.
Okay.
And that would, if you're planning to come. So please RSVP to me for the lunch so that I know I've advertised the quorum. Because Commissioner Kelly and Horn don't count as part of the quorum.
I can't go, I have
Okay,
class and
then I won't need to
grad
advertise the
student
quorum. Please come.
practices that day, and I have like 1,000.
Yep,
Unfortunately.
that's fine.
Can I bring something? We're done.
That is what,
Yes.
This, are you, but
We
are you
can't
done?
discuss it under miscellaneous items, but yes, you can make an
But are
announcement.
you finished?
Yes, I am. Did you have anything? No, we're done.
Okay. I am curious where these what do you call it? WC Riles overlay, where that project is?
We can bring an update on that.
That'd be great, because I know, the citizens requested it. It'd be nice to get that done for them.
We can bring an update on that next
Thank
month.
you.
any other items of business from commissioners? I won't be here at the June meeting, so Commissioner Jay will have to step in. I have field school. I'll be out in the field.
We should go on a field
And
trip.
Commissioner,
And you're all welcome to come. We're running field trips. So
Nice.
people can come out and visit the site and get a tour and everything. Yeah, so I won't be there. So, if Commissioner Day's not there, then,
okay, will
some
you-
additional factor.
do you want me to go email her and find out her availability in June, or do you want to talk with her?
I can do it. I just wanted it on the record in case I forgot.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Always good to let people know if you're gonna be missing something early, especially when you're the chair.
Good cheer, yeah.
Thank you, Jordan.
So that, I can now officially end the meeting of the Heritage Preservation Commission for, April 19th, 2023 at 6:12 PM.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. See you next month.
Thanks for letting me use your computer.
Oh, that's good.
I run from work sometimes, and so I should probably just leave my laptop at my car or something, or bring it with me. So
My
my work laptop.